All right. I believe we're ready to go then. All right, so let's do this thing. In. Oh, wait. Okay, there we go. Now let's do this thing. In. Three, two, three, two, one. This is Life is Leet episode 40 for Wednesday, June 17, 2015. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Life is Leet. This is a podcast of nerds yelling at microphones about things. I'm Jesse Hanna, and joining me tonight, as always, is my younger brother and my co-host, Aaron. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Could you turn your sound up a little bit? It's a little quiet.
Much better.
There we go. That's a little better.
Okay.
Other than that, so yeah, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. Mostly because E3 is happening. So let's go ahead and jump.
Probably almost over at this point, actually.
Well, mostly what we're going to be talking about actually are all of the pre-E3 press conferences that all of the big publishers have. But that's what everyone considers to be E3 nowadays, I guess.
Is
So
press conference. Unless
yeah.
you're actually at the show.
Yeah, well, but no one ever actually is, because it's all just press. So all we've got to go off of is the press conferences, which is where they all do all of the big flashy announcements anyway. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Well, before we do that, let's talk real quick about what we've been playing. For me, it's still mostly been Hearthstone. I'm up to about rank 15. I've been somewhere in the 15, 16 neighborhood lately this season. Kind of stuck there at the moment. But I've also been doing Tavern Brawl, which we'll be talking about later on in the show. What about you, Aaron?
I've been playing Super Smash Brothers recently because
yes.
DLC fighter hype. They came out with 3 of them on Sunday, along with 3 new stages.
I still need to download Mewtwo. I've got my codes.
You should download all of the DLC fighters.
Well, yeah, I've got my codes because I bought and registered both the 3DS and Wii U versions of Super Smash Bros. I have my codes to download Mewtwo. I just haven't done it yet, so I need to I need to do that. So yeah, there's Mewtwo, and what are the other ones that have come out recently?
We got Roy from Fire Emblem, who was in Melee, and is back for this one, just
Excellent.
like you two.
He
We
is
have
maddening.
Lucas from Mother 3, who was in Brawl and is back for this one.
Uh-huh.
And we have Ryu from Street Fighter as a newcomer.
Excellent.
And the cool thing about Ryu is that you can do with his specials, you can do the normal way with just like the special button, but you could also do the Street Fighter way, which is if you input a certain sequence on like the control stick and then hit the attack button, he'll do a stronger version of the move.
Nice.
So of course I'm no good at it.
Yeah,
You actually need to be good at Street Fighter in order to do that. And I have never played a Street Fighter game before, so
Yeah, no, when it comes to games like Street Fighter, when it comes to a game like Smash Brothers, I'm mostly just a button masher. I've never been very good at any of
that's
those.
pretty much how it is for any fighting game, though.
Yeah, I've never got my reflexes trained up enough to actually execute any of the combos that people who are actually good at those games can do in like half a second. I'm ridiculously bad at them. I just mash buttons until either
Something dies.
either myself or the other player dies. Actually, my favorite game in that genre, in the side-scrolling fighter genre, is an old SNES Gundam fighter game. I forget what it's called. It's Gundam Wing something or other. I'm sure someone will write in and tell us that I'm wrong about it. But it's a old SNES game that I played an emulator or a ROM of that's just Gundams fighting each other, and that was awesome, and I wasted way too much time playing that in high school. But that's actually my favorite, at least until Pokken Fighters comes out over here. That's my favorite side scroller fighting
That
game.
that yeah. I've been thinking of picking up a Street Fighter game now that Ryu is in Smash, just to see what it's like. Of
Yeah.
course, everyone knows that the infamous Guile theme, which is sadly not in the game,
Oh
0 out of
yes.
10, would not recommend. No, just
No.
kidding.
Also, don't see the Street Fighter movie, the terrible Jean Claude Van Damme piece of garbage from the '90s. That thing is poo. I
Well,
saw it once on the Spanish language TV station. I don't speak Spanish, and I think the movie made more sense without being able to understand any of what was being said.
are you sure the movie wasn't terrible because you were seeing in Spanish and you didn't understand what the crap was going on?
No, it's a terrible movie. I've seen enough of it in English to know that it's a genuinely horrible piece of garbage movie, and that it's
Well,
actually
then
it is
again,
actually improved by not being able to understand any of the dialogue.
then
Trust me on
again,
this.
it was the '90s. They didn't have video game movies down like
Well,
they look like
yeah,
they're going to now.
yeah.
To be fair,
Uwe Boll actually got shot down for doing the Warcraft movie. He offered to do it, and that's his thing. Is he goes to video game companies, says, "Hey, I'll foot the bill if you let me make a movie of your video game," and for a whole bunch of them, for who knows what reason, decided to say yeah because they would at least turn a profit from it, and it he would make it basically for free because of weird subsidies that he manages to get. I don't even know how he does what he does, but he went to Blizzard when the or early on at some point in the development of the Warcraft movie and said, "Hey, I'll do my thing here," and they said, "Ha ha ha, no," and just told him to GTFO. Thankfully, because every single thing that we've seen coming out about the Warcraft movie has been awesome, and I'm still utterly
who is this guy that Blizzard turned down?
Uwe
Give me his name.
Boll, Uwe
Did he have
Boll,
anything to? What?
and
Sorry.
he's widely regarded as the worst director of all time. And he's
Oh no,
mostly
M Night Shyamalan may or may not be contending for that.
well, no, this is like a whole nother echelon of terrible director.
Bad.
I you look up his IMDb and it's just a list of the worst video game movies that you've
Did
ever
he have anything
seen.
to do with the Resident Evil movie?
I don't think so. He did do Blood Rain, which was terrible. I can't even think of. Oh, he's done Far Cry, Alone in the Dark. These are some of the video game movies that he's done. Mostly horror-ish kind of things.
The fact
Apocalypse
that there was a
Z.
Far Cry movie is interesting to me.
Yeah, well, he's been producer, director on uh, a whole bunch of utterly terrible video game movie
Are any of them Final
adaptations.
Fantasy?
No,
Dang. Okay.
but go check out his IMDb sometime, and the how bad all of the movies that he makes manage to be is mind-boggling. Anyway,
What
entirely
were
off
we talking
topic.
about again?
Entirely
What
off
were we
topic
talking about
because
again?
there's
Oh
no
yeah,
news
Street
about
Fighter.
there's no news about the Warcraft movie this week. So let's get back on track here, because
Yeah,
we've
Street
got
Fighter and Smash. That's what we were talking about.
yeah. You've been playing Smash Bros. You've been playing more Monster Hunter. It looks like.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on then because we've got a lot of stuff from E3 to talk about, and
A lot.
we are pushing some stuff to next week that is other non E3 stuff that we know has happened. We're going to talk about. We'll get to it next week because we've got a ton to talk about, and in our show notes at lifeisleet.com, we'll have links to pretty much all of the stuff that we talk about in this episode. And we'll also have links to overviews from Polygon. They're kind of super cuts of each of the major 6 keynotes that happened before E3 from Bethesda, EA, Microsoft, Sony, Square Enix, and Ubisoft. So,
Because I've seen like about half of the conferences, so the ones I've seen, I'll be chipping in with what I thought of each one.
Yeah.
But really, it was only just three, and you'll know them when I talk about them.
Yeah, the only one that I watched live was the Square Enix one. The other ones
Oh, I didn't watch that one.
the other one
That's what I didn't see.
the other ones I either caught kind of the cliff notes or the afterward reports about, or listened to,
I'm
and I
just gonna tell
also
you this. I'm just gonna give you a forewarning. You don't need to know much about EA's.
yeah
It was. I saw it live. It was cringeworthy.
yeah
Legit the worst show.
that one I heard was really bad. Uh,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that one. We'll talk about each of them
We'll
actually.
handle that. We'll handle that. We'll handle that nuclear bomb when we get to it.
Yeah.
Speaking of nukes,
Well, before we get there,
I mean, that's a,
again, links to the Polygon supercuts, and I also highly recommend. And what I did for most of the other ones was I listened to the Scott Johnson and Patrick Beja commentary tracks for most of the other ones. They didn't do one for all of the presentations, but for the ones that they did a really good job, and they also have kind of a recap episode. So again, we'll have links to those shows in the show notes as well. Again, that's Pixels, which is Patrick Beja's video game news show, and Boop, which is likewise except shorter form from Scott Johnson. So go check those out. Go listen to those if you need to get caught up on everything else that happened at E3. But we're just going to rip through pretty much the stuff that was interesting to us because that's what we talk about
yeah.
on the show. We yell about things that we care about. So,
and if you don't, and if we would yell about something that you don't care about,
well, then tough luck because
that's tough luck.
that's why we do this
You're
podcast.
SOL.
And if you want to yell about stuff that you care about, you are perfectly free to make your own podcast or write into us, podcast@lifeisleet.com, if there's stuff that you want us to talk about that you think we missed. Anyway, nukes, Bethesda,
Nukes,
Fallout 4.
Fallout.
It's a
They
thing.
dropped the bomb.
We
That was a great show. I saw it live. That was great.
That one was really good. I heard the Scott Johnson and actually John Jagger did commentary for that one for Boop, and that one was really great.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Again, most of what we care about from that one is Fallout 4. We learned that we're gonna get some.
But there was also stuff like Doom 4, what got finally shown off. Dishonored 2 is now a thing. But
Yeah.
mostly we're going to be talking about Fallout.
It's mostly Fallout, to be honest. We know that we're gonna get some backstory on what happened before all the nukes happened. But that's not what people care about. What people care about are pretty much boiled down to two things. The special edition that comes with an actual Pip-Boy and the Fallout Shelter mobile game. The Pip-Boy, it's in Fallout that I understand, it's the big kind of PDA thing that you wear on your wrist. That's where you get all your stats and inventory
before smartwatch actually existed.
Right, and you've had stuff like that in the Pokemon games and various other games where when you want to see other information about what's going on in the game, you look at a screen and it tells you stuff. But this is basically that, except it's an actual physical thing. You install an app on your smartphone, you plug your smartphone into it, and it shows you it's a second screen experience of the game while you're playing the game. And apparently the app
pretty much just does like the app is pretty much like your like stat screen and inventory and stuff like that.
Right. And apparently that's going to be compatible across all the different platforms that the game is on, which is really neat.
That's pretty neat, honestly.
That is. So, and yeah, that's probably completely sold out everywhere by now. From everything that I've heard,
the second it was announced, it probably ceased to exist in game shops everywhere.
From everything that I've heard, it's just gone. Good luck trying to find one if you want one.
That or it's not up. Period. Well, no, it probably.
Well, no, is. I think it didn't go up right when they announced it, but pre-orders went up very shortly after like within a couple of days after. Might even have been today, Wednesday, which is when we're recording this, and the announcement was on Sunday.
Yep.
Yeah,
it was Sunday night.
So yeah, I think it's pretty much gone by now, but that was one of the two things that everyone freaked out about, and the other is if you've ever played the Tiny Tower iOS or mobile game, which is where you build a tower, you make some of the floors residential, you make some of them businesses, and people move in and you assign them to jobs and you just try to earn money to build your tower higher to keep it going, to keep everyone in it happy. Fallout Shelter is basically that, except underground in a Fallout shelter. It's pretty
Pretty much.
self-explanatory, and it's free to play. It's Tiny Tower just underground, and it's out for iOS now and Android soon. And I haven't played it yet, but everyone I know who has played it has said that it's awesome because it's not the exploitative microtransaction bug the hell out of you to try to force you to buy things to make things happen faster that you get with Tiny Tower or a whole bunch of those other games. You can just play it for free, and apparently it's really good. So I've been meaning to check that out.
It's sadly not on Android yet.
Not yet. It's coming soon.
Todd Howard, when he got up and talked about Fallout, he talked about what the development process was for Fallout Shelter, and they said that they put it on iOS first because of some deal with Apple they had. But apparently they said it'll come to Android soon, which, not gonna lie, I kind of want to play this.
Yeah,
I played very few mobile games, and this looks very enticing to me.
I don't play very many mobile games either. Hearthstone doesn't count. But besides Hearthstone, I don't play very many games on my iPhone or my iPad. But I'll probably be checking this out. I did play a little bit of the Star Wars edition of Tiny Tower. That was pretty awesome. But I'll give this a spin, and I'll report back. So yeah, Fallout 4. That was the big thing from Bethesda. Doom 4 looks pretty neat. Dishonored 2, I've heard really good things about the first one, but I haven't played it yet. But Dishonored 2 looked pretty neat as well. I think that's pretty much it from Bethesda.
Yeah, but Bethesda had a great showing. It was their first time, but they nailed it. I
Oh,
especially liked it when Todd Howard got up on stage and talked for a half hour about Fallout and just gushed all over it.
he
And
did.
you can see and you can see that Bethesda really likes to put that Bethesda really wears their heart on their sleeve when it comes to this job. They really like doing it.
Yeah.
And it showed, and I liked it.
Yeah, that was a great conference overall. A great
Yeah. I don't know if they'll
presentation.
return next year because they only do like the big open world game like every 3 years.
Yeah,
Or
it would
4 years or so.
it would be hard for them to do something big like that every year because they're not
Oh yeah,
they're not like Blizzard where they have so much stuff that they have a whole convention all to themselves every year.
Yeah.
They're not like Microsoft or EA or Sony where they have a wide enough net as a publisher to announce a whole bunch of different things every year. So
and they're not like Activision or Ubisoft where they have franchises that they could consistently make year after year.
Square
In
Enix.
comparison,
Yeah.
Square Enix. What does Square Enix have to do with that?
Well, they're in the same sort of thing where they have like the franchises that.
Oh, that don't get made every few years. Yeah,
Right.
that's right. That's true.
So yeah, I don't think we can expect Bethesda to be there every year, but they did a really awesome job.
But
I agree.
I'd love to see them back, honestly.
Yeah,
They did great.
I don't want to see them force it though. Is the thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Now
So
on the opposite end of the spectrum,
yes, there's really only one thing at all to do with EA that either of us cares about really, and that's
three
Mirror's.
things for me.
Well, the one thing for me, is Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which we got a release date, February 23, 2016. We got an announcement trailer. We learned more about it. We learned that it's going to be an open world, free running exploration game, which sounds really neat. That sounds like a ton of fun. The best parts of Mirror's Edge were when you felt like you were just in an open area and you could just go and run and jump over things and slide and rappel or like zip line down between buildings. And I'm so excited to be able to just have that in an open environment.
Yeah,
That
the free running was pretty great in Mirror's Edge.
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
And it's going to be where as you go along you encounter missions that you can do. It's not so much just a linear storyline, and it's going to be more focused on developing the character of Faith, who is the main character of the series. So that that sounds like a lot of fun. Sounds really interesting. And there's also going to be no gun combat, which was in the first
Mm,
game, felt
but it
kind
wasn't
of
that great.
shoehorned in, and you were usually better off trying to get through each level without using any weapons at all. In Catalyst, it's
Well,
not even going to be an option.
I mean, in the first game, the melee combat didn't really feel that great either, though. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Shout out.
If there was one weapon to always have in Mirror's Edge, it was the pistol because you could still free run with it.
Yeah. But I just generally speaking, the melee combat I thought was at least better than the
The gun
weapons,
combat,
yeah, in
I can
Mirror's
see
Edge.
that.
And so I presumably you'll still be able to run up and disarm someone. If you get a really good running flow going, you'll actually be basically invulnerable to bullets. So you won't even really have to worry about it as much from what some of the developers have said. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. That comes out early next year. Shout out
Yeah,
to Blue Fire in our chat room. But yeah,
and,
as far as EA goes for me, that was really it.
that was it. Yeah, they also had like apparently they had a reveal trailer for a new Mass Effect, which is pretty all right.
Yeah,
They showed Star Wars Battlefront.
Those
For the
looked all
first
right.
time.
You're right. Those looked okay. Those look pretty interesting. I always
And
like me
they
a good
showed
Star Wars video game.
they showed Battlefront for the first time outside of the Star Wars celebration,
Yeah.
the gameplay of which we didn't get to see.
Hmm.
But you know, but outside of that, there really wasn't much to write home about with EA, considering it was 90% sports games,
Well, yeah, and
and they just drove on and on and on. I worst game. Too much sports out of 10.
yeah,
Too much sports out of 10.
yeah, yeah. EA's
It,
wasn't great. It was,
I
yeah,
could say a lot worse things about them though, but I'm
yeah,
not going to on stream. But I
yeah,
do have worse things I could say about it.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
why did EA even still have a press conference?
yeah. Well, let's move on then to
But
Microsoft, which
anyway,
again, let's move on then to Microsoft, which again, not
which I didn't see, but I've heard was pretty alright.
it was all right. And not a whole lot to talk about. They talked about a new Gears of War, uh, which yeah,
And
that's a thing.
HD remake of the first one,
Yeah,
but none of us have ever played Gears of War, so we don't really care about that.
yeah. I've never been all that into it either. The big things for me, well, the one big thing for me, and then another thing that everyone's freaking out about that I don't think is as big a deal. But for me, they talked more about Halo 5 Guardians. We got a release date, October 27th of this year. We learned that there is going to be a multiplayer co-op campaign. You're going to be able to do things like revive fallen players during gameplay. So that's not brand new, but that's awesome. That sounds pretty cool. And we also learned about Warzone mode, which is a 24 player versus environment. You're going to have the two teams going at it in like massive, something like 4 times the size of some of the old maps. And you're also going to have AI controlled mobs, basically, as far as I can tell. You can't really tell from what I've seen. Someone correct me, write in and correct me if I'm wrong about this. But it kind of seems like you'll also have enemy AI controlled creatures to deal with or on the map. I can't really tell if they're allied with one team or another or what. But that looks pretty cool. And there's a gameplay trailer for that. And again, the link to that will be in our show notes at lifeisleet.com. And then the thing that everyone's talking about from the Microsoft press conference is the fact that the Xbox One will be getting some backwards compatibility with the 360. When I say some, it's going to be coming later this year. If it's a game that you've purchased digitally for the 360 that's compatible, you'll get a download of it for the Xbox One. If it's a game that you have a disc of that's compatible, you can put the disc into your One, and then that'll get you a digital download of it. The thing about it though
Sounds pretty
is
neat,
that
actually.
the thing about it though is that just like with the 360's compatibility with original Xbox games, it's probably going to be pretty limited which games will be available. To start out with, they said that they're going to be going for around 100 games being available. Right now, the list of games that we know will be compatible is very limited and pretty much all first-party stuff. And again, that's coming out later this year, so as we get closer to it, we'll find out more and more games that'll be available for it. But I I'm going to be getting an Xbox One at some point. I know that because they're making
Yeah,
a
I
new
probably
Halo.
will too.
They're making a new Halo game for it. So I'm going to get an Xbox One sometime. I don't know if it'll be right when Halo 5 comes out or sometime after that. I'm not sure yet. But I'm not going to be getting one because of the 360 compatibility. Because none of the games that I have for it are going to be backwards compatible. They've already put out versions of all of the Halo games, 1 through 4, for the One. And they're coming out with new Rock Band and Guitar Hero, which are going to be available for the Xbox One and PS4. I'd probably play those on the PS4 anyway. And so the backwards compatibility really isn't a big selling point to me.
Well, for a lot of people, it probably is because no backwards compatibility is probably one of the big cods against the next gen consoles.
Well, the
Because then
key,
people still have to hang on to like their 360s and PS3s in order to play games from last gen that they really liked, unless like developers crank out remasters for them, which people are getting kind of tired of.
yeah, but again, the limiting factor there is that you have to have a significant number of games that are actually compatible with the backwards compatibility. They're not making it
Hmm.
blanket backwards compatibility. They're basically just either putting an emulative layer or some sort of making ports of some sort of some of the games to be able to run them on the Xbox One.
Well,
So,
I mean, it said Well, I mean, it said that it's a very that around 100, but the keywords there are around 100 at launch, so maybe there will be more later.
yeah, I'm sure that they're hoping to add a whole bunch more. I just don't know how many that's going to end up being. And again, with the original Xbox to the Xbox 360, there really weren't a whole lot of games that you could bring up from your old Xbox to the 360. So we'll see. As when that launches, we'll probably talk about it again. We'll probably talk about what some more of the games are that'll be available for it then. But that doesn't seem like as big a deal to me as some people are making of it.
Oh no, I think it's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be why I get a
But we'll see. We'll
Xbox
see how
One.
it completely falls out.
Yeah. All right, let's move on now to Nintendo, which I
Okay, now this one is interesting because I
yeah.
caught the after effect of it, and apparently a lot of people were pretty disappointed.
A lot of people were pretty disappointed in it. And it
And I think this is my personal theory. They announced a new Metroid, but it was actually a game that they showed at like the Nintendo World Championships, and people were kind of disappointed that it wasn't a new main series Metroid game, and then the internet overreacted as it tends to.
right. And the World Championships, I've heard, I didn't get a chance to catch any of them. I had a busy weekend, but I've heard that those were a amazing kickoff to E3. And then
Hmm.
Nintendo's actual presentation, their digital
Was
event they called it,
meh.
it was just really meh. It was a pre-recorded thing, not like a
Well, they've been
live.
doing that since 2013 or so.
Yeah, it was
I mean, it's
basically
better
another
than having their own live conference. So
it was basically another
I
Nintendo
kind of prefer that.
Direct video. And they did announce some things. The Metroid game was one of the things that they talked about there, but again, they had already sort of announced that at the World Championships. Uh, Really, the best way to kind of sum up what they talked about is in timeline. We'll have a link to this. Kotaku posted a timeline of all of the stuff that Nintendo's got coming up, and I thought that was really the best way to summarize all of the stuff that they've got in the pipeline. In the fall, on September 11th, is going to be Super Mario Maker for the Wii U, Zelda Triforce Heroes, which is a new three-person multiplayer Zelda game, is going to be coming out for the 3DS. That looks like it's using the same engine as A Link Between Worlds. Those are a couple of things that are coming out in the fall. A handful of other things: a new Yoshi game, Disney Infinity, Skylanders, Animal Crossing. But that's
like
really
Animal
it.
Crossing mixed with Mario Party.
Pretty much.
That's sort of thing.
Yeah. That's pretty much it for the fall. Holiday season, we've got Star Fox Zero and Mario Tennis coming to the Wii U. Star Fox, of course, everyone's been wanting a new Star Fox game for forever.
Yeah. This one looks pretty good.
This one does actually look really good. I'm pretty excited for that.
I got a Star Fox 64 3D from Club Nintendo on my 3DS, and I have to play more of it. But I got that so I could get excited for Star Fox Zero.
Yeah, and that does look really good. And I like me a good Mario sports game, and Mario Kart, Mario Golf. I have Mario Tennis for the 3DS, so I'll probably want to pick up the Mario Tennis Wii U game at some point. Those are always a good amount of fun. And then over on the 3DS in the holiday season, we've got Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon.
This is also really interesting because
Yeah.
they're opting to not make a new main series game this year.
Yeah,
At
and
least that we know of so far.
And that
they
was-
could announce something at like PAX or something.
it's unlikely
But-
though. If they haven't
But
announced anything
right
by now,
it looks like they're not coming out with anything this year.
yeah.
Which is interesting.
If they haven't announced anything by now, then it's pretty likely that they're not going to have a main series release this year, which that was my more out there prediction for E3, was that they could announce something, but turns out they didn't. They're just going to have Super Mystery Dungeon
but then
as their
again-
Pokemon release for this
again-
year.
Then again, when has Pokemon ever really been at E3 outside of last year?
Yeah, that's true. That's never really been when they've done that. But I think that if they haven't announced anything this late in the year, then they're probably not gonna. I will
Not until
see,
next
but
year anywhere.
oh,
Not until next year, which is fitting because next year is the 20th anniversary of the series.
that's true. So they may have something big planned that they're saving up for next year.
And big is what I don't know.
Well,
see.
that's what we're hoping for. We'll see. We'll
Yeah.
see how that goes. And then, really, the big one for me is Xenoblade Chronicles X coming to the Wii U on December
that's
4th.
a big one for a lot of people.
Yeah, that one looks really. That's probably the one that I'm looking forward to most, actually, out of pretty much
Same
all
here.
of the rest of this year, at least on the Nintendo side of things.
Yeah.
And then going into 2016, we've still got the Legend of Zelda Wii U game
Which
in progress.
wasn't present.
They didn't really say much more about that. They announced, which had already been leaked, Hyrule Warriors Legends coming to the 3DS. That's going to have characters from
Not
Wind Waker.
leaked. It was already unveiled in Japan.
Well, okay, fair enough. But that's going to come with all the DLC characters from the Wii U version, plus new
We're
characters
assuming
from Wind Waker. And then also Fire Emblem Fates, Metroid
looks good.
Federation Force, also coming to the 3DS in 2016.
Which that's the one that's got everyone kind of
Yeah,
exploding all over the place because everyone was expecting like a new proper Metroid Prime, but I guess we're not getting that yet.
yeah. That seems neat enough, though. It seems like a pretty cool game.
I'll pass on it, but
Yeah.
eh,
It definitely isn't what people were anticipating would be coming out.
yeah.
But Nintendo's presentation can be summed up with a pretty resounding meh.
It was I mean, better than EA out of 10.
They've got interesting
Then again,
stuff.
That's not,
Yeah.
Then again, when EA screws up, it's not hard to do better. It's like impossible to do worse than them.
That's true.
Then again, EA did kind of drop the ball pretty hard.
Yeah. I
Uh,
Nintendo have some really neat stuff coming down the pipeline. Their presentation just was kind of
if it had not been an E3 presentation, I guarantee it probably would have been better received.
yeah, and people
Uh,
were expecting something like Sony's or Microsoft's or Bethesda's on stage,
well,
people talking about things, and not
I
another
mean,
Nintendo Direct. So
well, they announced it beforehand for one, and for another, you kind of can't beat Fallout 4.
yeah,
You can
that's true.
try, but
Yeah,
it won't look pretty.
well, I can think of one thing that might,
Here we go.
and that's getting into Sony's presentation. The big thing from which is there is finally going to happen a proper remake of Final Fantasy VII, and an actual remake, not just a port like the PC, like the PS4 port of the PC version that they trolled everyone with last year, not just an HD update like with the Final Fantasy X2 HD remasters. This is going to be a proper ground up remake of the game, like completely rebuilding the game from zero. It's going to have like current gen, like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children style graphics. Reportedly, it's going to have what can really best be described as evolved gameplay from translated interviews that the developers have done in Japanese with Famitsu and a couple other publications. It's going to even have some plot elements changed, better fleshed out from the original. I've never finished the original. I have it on Steam. I've never finished it. It is a really good game, but I'm
Quick, Final Fantasy VII. Is it like $6 now on Steam?
something like
Because
that.
Steam sale. I think it is. I think I'm
Probably.
gonna buy it.
Yeah, it's got a huge cult following, and I can definitely see why. It's not my favorite JRPG that I've ever played. That title still easily goes to Bravely Default, but it's a very good game. I definitely recommend playing it if you like JRPGs. If you like JRPGs, you've probably already played it. In the off chance that you haven't already played it, I recommend playing it. But
I'm probably gonna change that soon.
this is something that has been massively anticipated for years and years. Since I was in high school, it's people have been wanting a PS3 and then a PS4 version of Final Fantasy VII, and
Wasn't there a trademark for a PS3 remake of Final Fantasy VII
there
at one
was
point?
there was at some point. I'm pretty sure it never happened. It's we don't really know how far anything like that has ever come to, or how close anything like that has ever come to getting off the ground. But what we do know now is that it is
It
happening.
exists. It exists,
It's
and that
being
made a lot of people happy.
it's being made. There's a teaser trailer for it. More info is coming later this year. That's basically all we've got right now.
Break out the Rob Paul gifs.
Yeah,
Gifs.
it's
DIF.
happening.
Not DIF.
Yep. Uh,
And,
when it comes to Square Enix generally and JRPGs, there was kind of a theme of you'll hear a lot more about this later because there was Final Fantasy VII. They announced a new Nier game, which is a series
made
that
by
I've
Platinum Games,
yeah
which they made Bayonetta, and it's comprised of Capcom developers that made Devil May Cry, which those I've heard are really good.
Yep, and Nier is a series that I've heard good things about. I haven't played any of, but they again they basically just showed a teaser trailer for it, and then they also announced a thing called Project Setsuna, which they're creating a new studio to work on it that they're calling the Tokyo RPG Factory, and they've shown us 3 pieces of concept art from it, which look great. They look like a great whimsical fantasy world, but that's literally all that we know about Project Setsuna. So, and they say that they're targeting a 2016 release for it. So we'll probably be hearing more about that pretty soon. But
Yeah.
from between unveiling the FF7 remake at the Sony presentation, and Square Enix's own presentation, where
Presentation.
they talked about Hitman and a bunch of the other stuff that they've got going on
The new
there.
Deus Ex. I
New
haven't played
Deus
the
Ex,
Revolution. I need to play more of that.
yeah, uh,
They showed Kingdom Hearts 3, which
they
still
did.
has no release date,
Well,
but
yes.
it's looking pretty good, all things considered.
Oh, and another thing from the Sony announcement that looked awesome was No Man's Sky, which is
Mm.
another thing that we didn't get a release date for. But if you want alternatives to EVE Online for games where you can just fly around in space and actually do stuff without having to sit through a horrendous rip your eyes out tutorial, you've got more options now and coming up in Elite Dangerous, No Man's Sky, assuming No Man's Sky ever actually gets released. But yeah, that there were a lot of things that we learned that we are going to be learning more about later,
But haven't seen
but
yet.
we just
Which
haven't
is
yet.
which is but whatever.
Yeah,
They're coming,
yeah,
and that's pretty good to know about.
yeah,
Overall, Square Enix's presentation didn't see it live, but no Brinkley 2 out of 10.
yeah. Square Enix
Then
is.
again, Nintendo would have shown it as well, so there's that.
Yeah, well, Square Enix's presentation was really good. They did a good job. I liked it. It was the only one, like I said, that I watched live, mostly because it happened to be at a time when I was sitting down and able to watch it live. I just had it in one corner of my screen at work, so multitasking for the win. So I think that pretty much covers it for all the major E3 presentations. There was also the PC gaming presentation last night,
Which Blizzard was at.
which Blizzard
Don't
was
forget
at.
that. Surprisingly.
The presentation itself wasn't great, but Blizzard did announce some Heroes of the Storm stuff. I'd thought they might say some stuff about Overwatch. They might still at some point
Overwatch, I
during
said.
E3, but most of it was still just them talking more about Heroes of the Storm. And between event last week that they called The Mayhem Begins and their E3 presentation this week, we learned a lot more about their Diablo 3 content that is going to be coming to Heroes of the Storm.
Their first major content patch for the official release.
Yes, and they're calling it the Eternal Conflict. It's a Diablo 3 campaign, and the big meaty
Well,
pieces of it.
Diablo themed update, pretty
Well,
much.
yeah, Diablo themed, not just Diablo 3. The big meaty content of it is that we're getting a new map that they're calling the Battlefield of Eternity, which is a heaven versus hell themed map for Heroes of the Storm. And we're getting 3 new heroes from the Diablo franchise. We're getting the Butcher, King Leoric, aka the Skeleton King, and the Monk are all going to be added as heroes to Heroes of the Storm. And they've got
Diablo's first support hero,
yes,
which is saying something.
yeah. So those are all coming. There's a trailer for them up on the Heroes of the Storm website. We'll have a link to that, so you can go check those out. But the stuff that's been most immediately relevant to what I've been playing lately, anyway, is the Hearthstone Tavern Brawl is now out, as are the new heroes that you can pay for to download and play with. The Tavern Brawl, the first Tavern Brawl, I should say, is called Showdown at Blackrock Mountain, and it's Nefarian versus Ragnaros from the Blackrock Mountain campaign. And you go in, it's free to enter, and when you click the button to play, or when you challenge a friend to play, you're randomly assigned to either Nefarian or Ragnaros. And you're basically using the deck that they had in the campaign encounter.
Interesting.
And yeah, and basically you just fight it out from there. Nefarian, I think, starts with 30 health and 30 armor. Ragnaros starts with 60 health, and some of the cards in the decks are just utterly ridiculous and awesome and would be completely overpowered if they were actually allowed anywhere else in the
In
game.
normal play.
Yeah.
I
But-
need to check this out then.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's free to enter. You earn a pack of a classic pack for the first one you get each week, and each brawl is going to last from Wednesday morning through Sunday until like 3 a.m. Pacific time. Monday morning, I think, is when each brawl will last. And again, like we said last week, each week is going to have a different rule set. So this first one obviously is pre-made decks that you're just randomly assigned to one or the other. So we'll see what next week's is, but I'm all in. Tavern Brawl is a lot of fun. I definitely recommend using that to jump in. And if one of your holdups against playing against other people in Hearthstone has been not wanting to play against someone with a ridiculously overpowered deck compared to what you have with the cards that you have, this kind of levels the playing field. Sometimes you'll be building your own decks, but you'll still be at least playing by the same rule set within the same constraints. So I'm really stoked to see what they do with the Tavern Brawl. As for the new hero,
start off Hearthstone. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
As for the new heroes, we already knew about Magni Bronzebeard, and in the meantime, 2 more new heroes were announced: Illyria Windrunner as an alternate hunter hero, and Medivh as an alternate mage. Those were both announced with their own trailers. We'll have links to those in the show notes. And all 3 of them went on sale as of the new patch, which came out just this past Monday. So you can now go buy each of those for $10 a piece. They include animated hero powers, animated portrait, and a card back. And they're pretty cool. They're pretty cool looking. I might pick one of them up at some point because they just look awesome.
I'll wait on them.
Yeah,
maybe if they start like doing sales like Heroes of the Storm does,
they probably will. They probably will at some point do some sort of sale or bundle or something like that. So, but hey, I'm fine with them being $10. I'd gladly spend that for one of them.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, and one more small thing that came with this latest patch that is actually pretty awesome to me, I think, is that you can now, for each deck, you can select the hero and the card back for that deck. So if you have a hunter deck, you can pick either Rexxar or Illyria if you own Illyria, and you can pick the card back for that deck. So you could have a Rexxar deck with the Cake card back from a couple months ago, and you could have an Illyria deck with the, I don't know, Fireside Gathering card back. Stuff like that. So it's a little quality of life and customization thing, but it's neat. I like it. And I'm still playing way too much Hearthstone for it to at all be healthy.
Still waiting for more than 9 deck slots.
Yeah.
Which it should be happening soon.
It'll happen one of these days. It'll happen eventually.
It better. Come on, Blizzard. You know you want to make it happen.
All right, that's going to cover it for pretty much all the news this week. Again, we'll talk more about other video game news, other anime news. Yeah, no Pokemon stuff, which is a little disappointing to me, but oh well.
But then again, we might get more after they finish all the hero gameplay previews.
Yeah.
Which have been pretty nice.
Yeah.
Go look them up on YouTube. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Only big complaint I've seen is the lack of FOB slider, which if we pester Blizzard enough, they might put it in.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on now and close things out, as we like to do sometimes, with
one more thing.
And this week's one more thing actually came via a Blizzard employee on Twitter who went through and posted some screenshots of very early iterations of World of Warcraft. Going back to the very earliest days of World of Warcraft's development. Back to when it was still running in the Warcraft 3 engine. That's how far back we're talking here. Excuse me. We got to finish up soon. Anyway, these screenshots, link to them in the show notes. it's just fascinating to see how much the game has evolved since then, and also to see how little some of the things have changed since then. And these are pictures that are hung in I think it's like a little museum on the Blizzard campus in Irvine, but they're really fascinating to look at. So again, link to those in the show notes. Go check those out. Uh, Said show notes can be found along with MP3 downloads of the show, links to our Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus pages, our RSS feed, a link to subscribe to us on iTunes. That's all at our website at lifeisleet.com. Our live stream will be at lifeisleet.com/live when we go live, which is usually going to be Wednesdays about 9:30. Or you can just follow us on Twitch directly at twitch.tv/lifeisleet. I'm at JBHannah on Twitter, twitch.tv/JBHannah. Aaron's at twitch.tv/Plato0. I'm just zipping through this because I've got to end it because my voice is conking out. If you want to contact us with feedback, comments, suggestions, recommendations, audio attachments, send those to us at podcast@lifeisleet.com. Follow our Facebook and Twitter for when we go live with a new episode or with a game stream. That's going to do it for us for this week. For me, for Aaron, thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And until next time, everyone within the sound of my voice, take care.
Bye.
And I'm dead.
EA, or like EASPN.